The research team discovered the body of an ancient mammoth buried beneath the Arctic ice. What shocked everyone even more was that the corpse hadn't dried out or decomposed at all. Instead, the flesh was still intact and had even become food for polar bears. David and his team tranquilized a polar bear that had fed on the mammoth and brought it back to camp for study, later inviting several students in related fields to visit and observe. Among them was David's daughter, Ellie. The group flew to the camp by helicopter, but when they arrived, they found the buildings completely empty, with a foul, rotting smell lingering in the air. Following the odor, Ellie walked into the lab and was startled by the massive corpse of a polar bear. The animal had only been sedated before, so why was it now dead? For the moment, she had no answer. Hearing a noise, Shohei rushed over to check it out. It was his first time seeing a polar bear up close, and he couldn't hide his excitement, stepping forward to take a photo with it. But suddenly he felt a sharp sting in his arm. Looking at the tiny puncture wound, like a needle mark, he assumed it was just a flea bite and didn't think much of it. Late that night, Ellie was awakened by a loud roaring sound. When she walked to the window, she saw headlights approaching in the distance. Thinking her father David had returned from the field expedition, she hurried outside to greet him. But as the motorcycle got closer, she realized no one was riding it. She then checked the nearby helicopter and recognized the injured man beside it as David's assistant. Ellie quickly called the others out, and together they carried him back inside. The strange situation convinced the students they needed to return to the city immediately and take the assistant to a hospital. However, when they tried to start the helicopter, they discovered the control panel had been deliberately smashed by the assistant himself, as if he didn't want anyone leaving. Just then, the assistant's condition suddenly worsened. A thick, mud-like fluid began pouring from his mouth. Struggling to speak, he warned Ellie not to let them leave. Before she could ask what he meant, the assistant suddenly died. Seeing this, Ellie grew even more worried about her missing father. Without wasting a second, she jumped on the motorcycle and sped toward the field research site. If she could find David, she might finally learn what had really happened. When Ellie and her companion arrived at the camp, they discovered the mammoth's corpse and something even more disturbing, wriggling clusters of eggs inside the body. If their guess was right, the assistant's sudden death had to be connected to those eggs. Stepping out of the tent, they found the bodies of the other team members scattered nearby, sending Ellie into a panic. Then she noticed a freshly made mound of dirt and feared her father had been buried there. Overcome with dread, she rushed toward it to confirm, but her companion quickly pulled her away and took her back. Once Ellie calmed down, she went to examine the assistant's body and, sure enough, found the same strange eggs inside him. She began to suspect that as rising Arctic temperatures melted the ancient ice, it wasn't just long-buried creatures returning to the surface, something else had come with them. Unknown parasites that had been trapped inside for thousands of years.